All right, folks. Well, here we are. Welcome back to our online learning platform. And I don't know how it's going to go. It's going to be maybe a month, maybe 2 months. Who knows? But stay working hard. Today, I thought I'd talk to you about rates because it's after ratio. We've been talking about ratio a little bit. And it's really nice because it comes right after fractions. Fractions and ratio, fractions and rates, fractions and percent. They're all proportional reasoning. Okay, so don't think that rates are anything different. Rates are easy as well. The difference is they're comparing two different things. Okay, typically something like this, speed limit. That's a rate, right? It's a rate of speed. It's comparing distance and time, right? So speed is distance divided by time. Now, when you see these on the roadway, right? This is a speed limit, right? On a highway mainly, 100 kilometers in an hour. So we can use this, right? We can use this to find equivalent rates. We'll do that in a second. Rate of pay. Here's another way of using rates, right? Where if anyone's got a little part-time job yet, maybe not yet, but perhaps now that you have some time on your hands, $14 money per hour, time. So money, time is comparing two different quantities, okay? We can use this to figure out how much money we should make if we work a certain amount of hours, etc., right? And then rate is also used really well, and I do this all the time. I've told you before, I always check prices in Walmart and wherever I go shopping to find the best deal, right? So you can compare cost per item, and you have to, compare item to item. So comparable quantities. So let's have a look. I'm going to start over here. If Harris, right, our hockey player, if Harris scores, let's say 10 goals in 5 games. Notice I put it like a fraction. You don't have to. You can write it as a ratio where you might have been reading sometimes with the colons, right? 5 games. I can do both. I prefer the fraction look, right? That way you can, when we're dealing with equivalencies, and that's what I want you to remember, we're always working with equivalencies, equal fractions, equal ratios, equal rates. So if Harris scores 10 goals in 5 games, how many games is it going to take him to score 20 goals? So now we got an unknown, right? We know this is the ratio. It's 10 goals for every 5 games. So to get to 20 goals, well, we have some relationships here. I've said this to you before. Once you know 3 of the 4 things, you can always solve the 4th. Either look this way, how does 10 become 20? That's pretty easy. Or look this way, how does 10 become 5? Even though you're talking about goals and games, you're still dealing with a number relationship. 10 becomes 5. Dividing it in half. 10 becomes 20, multiplying it by 2. You pick. I don't care. It doesn't matter. Whatever works for you, right? So times 2 to me is the easiest one to see. So I'd say, okay, well, if Harris gets 20 goals, it's going to take him twice as long. So 5 games becomes times 2, the same multiplier, the same scale factor. 10 games, right? So it's going to take him 10 games to get his same rate of scoring if he's consistent. I don't know if Harris scores that many goals, but maybe he does. Now, where we go from there is this, and it kind of relates to what's the best deal, even though it's not necessarily comparing money and items, but it's talking about what we call unit rate. So unit rate, this marker worked nicely. Unit rate is finding one of the items. Okay, right now we got 10 games, we got 5 games. I want to know what one game is. And this is the way that you start to compare things equally. Because if you can take something down to one of something, you're going to be easily able to compare it. It's one of that, one of that, one of that, one of that. So it's easier. Okay, so now in going from either 5 to 1 or 10 to 1, it really doesn't matter. I want to know how good of a hockey player is Harris? Well, Harris, to get to one game, what are we doing? Dividing by 10. So divide this by 10. 20 goals becomes 2 goals. Whoops, goals. Wow, 2 goals a game? Harris, really? That's pretty good scoring rate. So anyway, that's what you call a unit rate. He's scoring at a rate of 2 goals per game. It's all to do with ratio of these numbers, but as you can see, they're different headings, so you need to write the words in too, okay? Unlike ratio, where you say, it's a 2-to-1 ratio, there's no units needed there because they're the same thing. If it's the same thing you're measuring, you don't need the words in there. But when we get to rate, it's similar, but we need to put the words in. Okay, so there's Harris scoring, right? Let's go back to what I was talking about earlier when I was pointing to the speed limit. Let's just get this out of the way so I get a little bit more room. I'll leave Harris up there, and you can rewind and go back over Harris's scoring prowess. I'm sure Harris is happy to see his name up there. All right, so speed limit. If perhaps I travel, I don't know, let's say I go 600, oopsies, it's too wet, sorry. That's okay. Let's say I go 600 kilometers. That's a 0 there, right? 600 kilometers, and it takes me 12 hours. 12 hours to do so, okay? This is a rate of speed, right? There's distance, there's time, it's how fast you're going, but I don't know how fast I'm going as a unit rate, where we talked about speed limit before, but I can figure it out. How do I figure it out? I say, well, what's 1 hour? If it's 12 hours, I say, what's 1 hour? So I go down to 1. I say, okay, well, how does 12 become 1? Or how does 600 become 12? Or how does 12 become 600? You're always trying to solve the unknown here, right? This is the unknown. Now, I'm going, to get to the unknown, it's on the right side and it's on the upper side of the fraction or the ratio. So it's either saying, how does 12 become 1? Because 600 is going to become that the same way. Or how does 12 become 600? Because 1 is going to become that the same way. So I look for relationships, and to me, this is a bigger number. I wouldn't bother with it. I see 12, I see 1. The convenient thing about unit rate is it's always 1 of something. You can always find 1, just divide by the number itself, right? So 12 becomes 1 by dividing by 12. So 600 becomes, what's that going to be? 600 divided by 12. Well, what is that? 50? Right, 50. So it's 50 kilometers per hour. So this is, if we write it another way, could be written like that. No, sorry, that's 500. 50. What did I say? 500. Okay. So that should be 50 kilometers in 1 hour. And that's a rate of speed. Okay? So 50 kilometers per hour. Okay, what else do we do? What else? Where else do we see rates? Rate of pay. Rate of pay. So, let's see, I could probably fit this in here. Rate of pay. Some of us that don't have our part-time jobs going yet, but that's okay. We will eventually. And this is minimum wage, by the way, which is kind of pretty good because that's just gone up in the last few years. Let's say that, let me see. You go to work. I know some of you go babysitting, right? I know I've talked to Zoe about this before. She had a babysitting gig. And I'm always interested to find out how much money you guys make because I always wonder whether it approaches rate of pay of minimum wage or not. But let's say you made $200 which, you know, it's not a lot of money, but it's good. But it took you, I don't know, 40 hours to do so, right? So there's a rate, right? It's dollars and hours. By the way, when you read these questions and you see dollar signs and you see hours, typically dollars goes on the top, if you think about it, right? And even when we talk about the best deal, what's the unit rate? It's money per item. So this is money per hours. But if I want to know how much you make, if you've made $200 in 40 hours, again, I want to know what 1 hour is. So 1 hour, I look at my examples here, I can say, well, how does 40 become 200? I can see what's going to happen there. 40 times what is 200? We could do that. 40 becoming 1, easier. Remember, divide by itself. So divided by 40. So I divide the top by 40. And this isn't going to be very good. Sorry, Zoe, I hope you're making more than this. $5 per hour, right? It's not minimum wage. I know you're making more than that. But that's unit rate of pay. Okay? Now, while we're on the unit rate topic, combining that with, you know, how do I find out whether I'm getting the best deal? And maybe some of you guys have been shopping at Costco. That's the typical budget area where you end up buying in bulk. So let's say I can buy 3 ketchup bottles for $9.30. Okay? So if I read it like that, you have to decide how to make up your ratio. And again, what did I tell you just earlier here? If you got a dollar value in there, I put that on the top. Okay, so let's go with that on the top. We got $9.30 for 3 bottles. You don't have to be too descriptive. You could put the letter B if you want, but you have to have some type of label because these are different units of measure. Okay, so how much is it? If I want to know, you know what? Fortino's has ketchup on for $4.29 per bottle. So, you know, if I have room in my cupboard and I can store 3 ketchup bottles, I probably want to get the best deal, right? So here's $9.30 per 3 bottles. There's Fortino's at $4.29 per bottle. So can I just say, well, $4.29 is smaller than $9.30, so therefore I'll go to Fortino's because it's costing me less? But no, because I only get 1 bottle here. I get 3 bottles here. So I'm not comparing the same thing. I got to make this number be this value become comparable to that. And that's 1 bottle. So I got to figure out what 1 bottle costs. Right? Now 1 bottle costs, well, how do I get from 3 to 1? Divide by 3. Okay, it's always easy to figure out unit rate. Divide by 3. 9.30 divided by 3, well, you should see some multiples of 3 in this number. There's a 9, there's a 3, there's a 0. We probably don't need a calculator for this one. 3 into 9 goes 3 times. 3 into 3, so the decimal, 3 into 3 goes once. And of course the 0 is just carried in there. So this becomes $3.10 per bottle. So if I said, what's a better deal? Per bottle? Oh, $3.10, better than $4.29. So therefore, I'm going shopping to Costco. But you got to wait in line to get in now that we're all set aside with this quarantine situation. So anyway, that's rate of pay, rate of speed, rate of cost per item. I want you to get familiar with that. I will post questions for you to practice on out of the Pearson text. Hopefully you've downloaded it already. That was the first thing I asked you to do. And stay focused, keep working hard, put in a good hour per day of math, and hopefully we'll be together soon. Okay, thanks. See you.